Thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Cipollone, for being here. Good to see that you're in our Econ Committee, and thanks for being here to talk about the digital euro. Now, on your resume, I was happy to see that you're specialized in financial stability as one of your primary areas of focus, together with payment systems. So I think you're in the right place, and it tells me that you're able to take a bird's eye view on the ecosystem and the objectives ahead. Now, when speaking to your predecessor, I've been involved with the digital euro for quite some time now. I've been asking anybody in the European Central Bank who is scared to explain to me what problem the digital euro is solving. And when I carefully listened to your remarks, and still, it still goes back to a bunch of hand waving, to be frank. Maybe it's good for financial inclusion. Maybe it's better for cross-border payments. Maybe it's a good replacement for cash as a monetary anchor. The only argument I haven't heard yet is because China is doing it, so we should start doing it as well. I seriously still doubt whether there is any added value for a digital euro in the market today. And I was the rapporteur for the instant payments regulation, which was passed by a large majority last week in the European Parliament. And many of the arguments you put forward for the digital euro is already solved under the instant payments regulation. Payments will be instant. There will be no higher costs. We will have less dependency on American or foreign card companies. We will have innovation because we opened the settlement finality directive in order for non-banks to be involved in payments as well. So in that regard, well, the only argument we would have is offline payments. Well, we have two options. We have one option for offline payments, and that's cash. And we are already having the legal tender. So the example you gave for your mother from 95 years old, who would love to have her payments handled correctly, there will be a cash strategy, both by the ECB and the legal tender legislation coming from the European Parliament. And if you would like to have digital offline payments, in the Netherlands we had such a thing, and that was called the chipknip, which is now defunct because nobody is using it. So again, please try to explain to me or my voters, what is the reason you are pushing ahead with this at this very moment? Thank you so much.
Let me make an example. E-commerce today is about 20% of all digital payments. Do we have a means to do that in Europe? I don't think so. I don't think so. If you want to buy something online, you either use, well, you know what you can use. Certainly not a European device. 20% of e-commerce and growing over time. Not a small use case. Not a small use case. Cross-borders. Again, I go back to the point I was making before. Are you flying home tonight? You want to buy a coffee? Can you do this with the European payments means? You cannot. There is no such a thing. But beyond that, so those are real use cases, right? The cash strategy, we will do whatever we can to make sure that people could keep using cash. We are extremely committed, but we cannot control what the market will be doing. One example, have you seen how many supermarkets are changing the way you pay? There are very few places where you can pay with cash and many places where you can pay with whatever means of payments. So the technology to pay with cash is going to disappear. This year, for the first time, after I don't know how many years, the cash in circulation has declined. A little bit, nothing alarming, but for the first time after so many years, cash is declining. So this is a trend. Already today, in 6 year time, cash declined from 73% of the transaction to 59%. So this is the reality we are going to face. And we will face this transformation more and more in the coming years. And we need to be ready for that. This is the problem we are trying to solve. And again, if you are in certain country where you don't have the luxury of having a domestic scheme, the only way you can pay is relying on a non-European market share, payment solution. Just to give you another number, in 10 years' time, I guess, the market share of those entities on the sides of all payment done by card went from 53% to 69%. This is the reality. This is the reality. We think we need to do something about that. And the way to do it is to allow people to pay anywhere on any channel with the public money. Whether they want to use it or not, it's their choice. We have the responsibility to be ready, because one day, otherwise, these people could turn to us and say, look, we are now left with no means of public money in the society. What have you done to prevent that? I don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, on the e-commerce, you mentioned the e-commerce. There are already indeed domestic e-commerce systems in place, Ideal, Payconic, Bizum in Spain. And the reason why we adopted the instant payments regulation is in order to create a more European e-commerce scheme, which is already taken care of by the market under the European Payments Initiative. So aren't we disrupting the market actually with this introduction of the digital euro?
Maybe we should get together and discuss, because this would be a very long discussion. You see, if I may, I think there is a logical inconsistency here. We don't want to compete. We don't want to compete with the commercial bank money. The example I gave to you before about the railroad, we are constructing a railroad where everybody, if you want to roll an instant payment, you still need a scheme. You still need a European scheme. Do we have it now? I'm sorry to say so, and I deeply regret that as a European citizen. We celebrate this year 25 years of euros. We can trade everything in Europe. But when it comes to pay, we are still stuck to national solutions. After 25 years, if you want to roll out this scheme based on instant payment, the digital euro will be an opportunity because of the rule book. You just need to use the same standard, and you will be able to roll out. The railroad is there, put your train, and you can reach anybody you want. You don't need to construct your own railroad to reach people. That's why we are barking to the wrong tree. We should get together and understand where the problem is. The problem is not inside Europe. The problem is outside Europe. I don't know whether you understood what I said. 69% of the market in the hands of somebody else. We should stop fighting among us and think where the real problems are. Sorry to get so passionate on